Max, you'll be here too, right?
She's never leaving me.
That makes all of us.
These are the final words ever said by William Price to his daughter Chloe. They echo through Chloe's life after that awful day in a mocking tone. Chloe's life, her story told to us as the player, becomes a tale of loss and the futility of her anger in a world that doesn't see her for who she is. Max will never leave me. Except she does. In keeping with the tragedy we are seeing unfold, Max's parents move away almost immediately after William dies, and she, as many people do when we are no longer in close proximity to friends, becomes distant. She is young and caught up in the excitement of moving to a big city, and that just doesn't jive with the black hole of sorrow that she left back in Arcadia Bay. Sure, she feels bad, but feeling guilty doesn't actually do much for the person that you left behind. That makes all of us, except one by one, the people Chloe puts her love and trust in, do leave. Her father left and never came back. The accident that took his life wasn't his choice, and Chloe can, most of the time, logically acknowledge that. He fades into the bright light of memory, breaking his promise to his daughter. That may not seem like a fair way to look at it to you. Breaking his promise implies that he chose to do something that would take him away from those who loved him and depended on him. The problem with grief is that logical thinking doesn't play a huge role in how we navigate it. Our emotions are informed by what we know to be true, but also by a million other things that we face every single day. Even then, there's often a little part of our brain that whispers to us at night while we struggle to get to sleep that if we'd just done something different, the bad thing wouldn't have happened. If we were smarter, faster, stronger, better in some specific way, we could have done something to change the trajectory of our life. The stages of grief are something that most Americans are probably familiar with in concept, if not the specifics. Denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. They come from a book published in 1969 called On Death and Dying by Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. The problem with those stages is that they were originally meant to apply to people dying of a terminal illness, not the loved ones that they are forced to leave behind. They're also not really supported by any empirical evidence, as people grieve in very different ways, and no way of grieving is applicable as the good way to do it over any other. The stages of grief is a model people tend to have thrust upon them when they are trying to get help with grieving, and it has mixed and sometimes really bad results. For some teenagers, losing a parent so young hurts, but they can eventually move on and accept it with the love and support of those around them. For others, it is a festering wound that never heals. It starts to scab over, and then that scab is picked off every time somebody throws in a, "I'm really sorry about your dad," when you're just trying to turn in your homework and go about your day. "Thanks for making me think about my dead dad and how much everybody pities me when I should be paying attention in math class." Contributing factors can be just about anything from an economic situation that affects home life to something as simple and insurmountable as your own brain chemistry. So having cookie-cutter grief counseling or platitudes thrown your way by every well-meaning bystander isn't exactly doing what it's meant to be doing by those people. When adults lose loved ones, we can more easily identify the feelings of betrayal and loss for what they are. Understandable, but ultimately unfair and a distortion of reality because anger is easier to feel than the desperate helplessness of grief. Grief is messy. It is sad and mopey and feels in the moment to be never ending. Life will always go on and it will always remind you of what you have lost. Anger, though, that is clean. Anger burns hotter and gives you a target for those big feelings. Dad left me. Max left me. Rachel left me. When looking at a game like Life is Strange and its prequel Before the Storm, it can be easy to get caught up in the grand tale of Rachel Amber and her fury at her cheating dirtbag father. Or Max and the murder mystery that also centers around Rachel. The quieter and less flashy part of the story is about Chloe and her grief. It's about how she deals with hard times and strong feelings by talking to her dad, fully formed out of her own memories and dying over and over again in her dreams. This is a wound that has not had a chance to start healing because she keeps picking at it, sometimes by choice and other times by force from outside influence. Chloe's journal is honestly kind of hard to read. She's a kid with a lot of anger for everyone and everything, and who could blame her? She writes monologues to her best friend that left her all alone. She writes pages and pages about everyone she knows, most of it littered with ridicule and profanity that disguises her keen insight into what makes people tick. She has a sharp eye for detail, and even at this youngish age can unfortunately identify how much luck of birth and circumstance changes the trajectory of every life around her. Okay, I want all of us to stop for a minute and think about everything I've just said. Chloe would fucking hate the way I have presented her in this video, focusing mostly on her trauma. She isn't some sad, wet puppy in need of pity. She's a person who is more than just the bad things that have happened to her. When you've been through something really bad that a lot of people know about, it can often change the way they interact with you. They feel like they can't talk to you about anything else because there it is, standing in the corner, menacingly. It gets to a point where they look at you and it's all they can see. So to remove that discomfort they don't know how to interact with from their lives, they drift away. Sometimes for a short while and sometimes forever. You start to feel guilty when you experience any positive emotion because everyone is acting like you can't do anything else but mourn. You haven't cleanly passed through the steps of grieving because you are still so angry so much of the time. So you get more angry and resentful because how the hell are you supposed to move on when nobody will just treat you like a person? You can see this in action in real life when a crime is committed and the victim is accused of exaggerating or lying because they were caught liking a silly cat video on Facebook 2 weeks after the event. Clearly, it wasn't such a traumatizing thing if you were laughing at any point after it happened. You aren't acting right, like the idea of a victim that everyone is projecting onto you. It is only with Rachel, the person who didn't know Chloe well at all before she lost her dad, that we can see the real Chloe start to come back. She's funny, clever, smart, resourceful, and generally cool as fuck when someone isn't laboriously trying to tiptoe around her. Anytime Chloe re-enters a world without Rachel, the tone shifts to something more somber. At home with her mom and David, they act like she's a barely contained wild animal, prone to random acts of aggression and melancholy that spins them up into an adversarial or condescending posture when talking to her. At school, she is with all these kids and teachers who only know the one single thing about her and don't really care to get close enough to see anything else. Getting out of Blackwall, of Arcadia Bay in general, means getting away from all these people who won't just let her exist as a whole person. The fresh start she wants in both these games is about more than just hating the small town life or finding it boring. Moving won't fix all your problems. Unfortunately, baggage tends to follow you from place to place. But it does provide you with a fresh environment where the well isn't already poisoned by others' expectations of you. I think Before the Storm is really ambitious in the things it tries to get across about these characters and this world. There are a lot of ways I could talk about this story and Chloe specifically. For now, though, the crushing weight of expectations and the disastrous outcomes seemed to me the strongest thing binding many of these characters together. They line up pretty well with Life is Strange, but that is to be expected when Before the Storm was crafted from the ground up to match thematically with its predecessor sequel. Anyway, Chloe fucking rules. Thank you for watching this, my third Life is Strange video. If you like this one and haven't seen the others yet, I encourage you to check them out. I've gotten a lot of positive feedback on the last one about Rachel, and if you liked this, you'd probably like that one too. If you did enjoy this video, then I would appreciate an actual like, because my weird upload schedule has me duking it out with the algorithm every time I put something new out. I'd love to hear your thoughts on Chloe and her journey in the comments. I especially want to thank people for being patient with the length of time between the last video and now. I actually had intended to get this video recorded and put together a couple weeks ago, but I wound up getting just devastatingly sick with some viral infection, and most of the last week and a half I've been either unable to coherently think or I couldn't talk because I had the really, really gross, aggressive sick voice. I still kind of have a little bit of sick voice, and you aren't going to hear it, but I'm going to be editing out a bunch of times where I had to clear my throat or cough or catch my breath while recording this. So, thank you for the ability to edit audio. Because that would be a really unfortunate thing for everybody to have to listen to. I'm also recording in a room that is much louder than normal. So I have probably like cars going by in the background that you'll probably still be able to hear. I'm going to try and edit out what I can, but I'm not going to be able to get everything. Whew. This one took longer than the others in the miniseries about Life is Strange because I just really didn't know where to begin talking about Chloe. I have a lot of disjointed thoughts about her story that I couldn't really tease out into a full script, so I started and stopped a lot. I actually tried writing this one before the Max video and had to abandon it, then again with the Rachel video. If you'd like to support the channel, you can head over to patreon.com/writingwomen and sub for as little as $2 a month and get access to some bonus videos, updates, and more. Thank you to Kathy for the ending music, and all of this is made possible by my current patrons: Sam, Raccoon in the Distance, Langolier, Epic Otters, Sean M. Dudley, Sarah B., Arachnolo, Olivia Kenny, Red, Tamara Larimore, Dustin Clemens, Bruce Conrad, and Pink Leisha. Thank you so much, everybody. I will see you next time.